make those shots. And if you're making them at that level of success, you're going to be almost impossible to stop, certainly in the half court.
Coach Bockham looking on as we are ready to go. You see Stephen Clark jumping for the Citadel. Furman wins the tip, however, and we are underway. The Paladins going left to right. They are in the purple on the road. We'll take a look at the starting lineups. We mentioned a veteran-laden team, and with that, the same starting lineup all 12 games for Furman at this point in the season. A team with an 8-3 record, and a quick basket inside for the Paladins. They waste no time as they go to Slauson inside. Now the Bulldogs going to Clark with his back to the basket. You see the starting lineup for the Citadel. It is a change to have Clark in there as a jump shot along the baseline is missed by Fletcher Abey. Just the second start of the year for Clark, even though he's been averaging more than 21 minutes per game.
Clark has essentially been playing the main amount of the minutes at center, but Brady Spence had been getting the starts. This time around, Stephen Clark is in there from the beginning. I think Coach Duggar Bockham wants to see his aggressiveness, but also be smart in terms of committing fouls.
Three-point attempt missed by Slauson. Bulldogs on the move. Brown into the front court, and a foul is called, and that's something that happened frequently the last time out. Hayden Brown drawing 14 fouls against the opposition in the last game.
Yeah, Duggar Bockham said that was the most he had ever seen, certainly on a team that he coached, in terms of fouls drawn. And he can get a number of players in foul trouble just by lowering his broad shoulders and trying to get to the basket and creating that contact. He's very comfortable playing with physical contact. An early bucket for Furman, the only bucket of the game so far from Slauson, a guy that I think Coach Bockham and the Citadel were worried about, a native of Somerville, went to Pinewood Prep nearby, playing close to home in Charleston. He had a big game in his first return to home this year against the College of Charleston.
Moff working with the ball right now for the Bulldogs. Out to the corner for Fletcher Abey. Moff battles for the offensive rebound. Bulldogs a chance to reset. Hayden Brown, and as we just talked about, Jason, Bulldogs hoping he keeps it going, and so far 1 for 1's a good start.
You know, you kind of catch a break when the Citadel misses an open three, especially from Abey, but if you can't get the rebound, they're going to get another open look when you have four guys who are able and capable shooters once you kick it out from that offensive rebound. But good work by the undersized Tyler Moff to get that offensive rebound and get a bucket.
Quick drive along the baseline, missed by Bothwell. Now Moff with it. Brown slicing his way to the rim and draws another foul. He'll shoot two.
Well, you're seeing it early. Hayden Brown knocks down a three, so if you're Furman, you're thinking we can't let him get hot from outside the arc like he did on Saturday. Let's close out quickly. But you have to close out under control, and when you don't, Brown's going to go hard to the basket, and you could see he wanted to finish in an angry way with a dunk. I think he's kind of regretting not being able to get the ball through the bucket on the slam dunk, but does go to the line for a pair.
First one rims out for him. He's been a strong free throw shooter, 81% on the season, including 10 for 12 his last time out. That's one of the other aspects about drawing a lot of fouls. It helps if you're a high percentage shooter at the line, and Hayden Brown has been that this season.
Furman isn't a big shooting team from outside the arc. They'll knock some down, but I think their real advantage that they have to think coming into this is in the paint. And they've missed a couple of shots right there at the rim, and of course they're going to hit a three after I say that.
Sure are. That's Clay Mounce, the player we highlighted for Furman. Again, with such a veteran starting lineup, you could really pick anybody as an impact player. Tyler Moff left alone straight away, and he answers.
You have four shooters on the floor. Moff, Abey, Rice, and Hayden Brown, as we've talked about extensively, that can all knock down the shot at a higher percentage than average around the country. And a little miscommunication on the screen. Both defenders backed off, and Moff knocked it down.
Offensive foul. Mounce lowered the shoulder, and the Bulldogs get the ball back.
Well, that was the first time they got it to Mounce in the paint after he just knocked down the corner three. A possession earlier. Had a little bit of a size advantage over Rice. But you could see Rice got in a good guarding position, and then after the contact, Mounce's left arm kind of extended, and that's a telltale sign for an official. You see the extension of the arm after contact. It's going to be an offensive foul.
Moff brings it across the timeline. High screen from Brown. Finds Clark on his way to the rim for the slam.
Man, Tyler Moff has been impressive here in the first 3 minutes of the game. A big offensive rebound, a couple of passes to get shooters open looks. He's knocked down a three. That time drew a couple of defenders and dropped it off for the dunk.
Hunter bounces it to Gurley. Gurley working against Brown. Can't connect. Nice athletic tip in, though. Putting it back is Slauson to once again bring Furman within two.
It is worth noting that the Citadel had a long absence as AB knocks down the pull-up jump shot. But they had a long absence, 18 days between games, and Furman's coming off a similar break, not quite as long at 11 days, as their last two conference games were postponed as well.
There's been a theme throughout the SoCon so far in terms of conference play, as these teams just trying to make a schedule work. You can see Furman with 2 games against the conference so far. The Citadel only has 1 game against the league. That's not something you would expect in what should be the 3rd week of conference play. It just has been the way it's unfolded. Brown comes up well short on that jumper, and now Furman a chance to reclaim the lead. Drop step baseline for Gurley, and the Paladins do just that.
I think you're seeing the balance for Furman. They had 3 guys coming in averaging 15 points a game or more. And these two offenses are the same. One guy gets hot, you can't really send multiple defenders to him because there are other capable players on the floor at all times.
Brown too strong off the glass. Bothwell looking to run for Furman, leaves it up in the air. Alley-oop does not finish. Now Moff running the other way. Tried to find Rice stepping into a shot, but good transition defense by the Paladins. Now Rice falling away from the baseline, still hits.
I was just about to say, it's about as long into a game as the Citadel has gone all year without Caden Rice getting a shot, and he caught it, got a little bit of separation, and said, hey, it's about time I get a shot up there, and splashed it.
Up and down action in the first 5 minutes for these two teams. Fletcher Aby from distance rattles out.
Again, when he shoots, we've said it multiple times this year, you think it's going in, and that shot was halfway down and rattled out, but he is right on the money most of the time.
Gurley lines it up from the right wing, short. Moff pulls it in. Slings it all the way across to Aby. Clark from behind the line. Teams have cooled off a little bit here. This is an extended length of the game without a whistle. And now we'll get a whistle, which will take us to a timeout on the floor. You could see perhaps some players getting gassed there. A lot of hands-on.
Schedules are a little bit different. Furman has played against some of the big boys, Alabama and Winthrop, and the Citadel. You know, it hasn't mattered who they've played. They've played some non-Division I opponents. They've also put up 92 just the other day against Chattanooga. So both of these teams are going to put the ball in the basket.
And waste no time doing it. Hunter with a 3 immediately out of the timeout puts Furman back on top.
Hunter is the best three-point shooter percentage-wise and in terms of makes for Furman. That's his second 3 in the early going.
Brown into the lane, finds Moff, and a traveling violation called against him.
You look at the balanced attack for both of these teams, and Hayden Brown's put up big numbers, but 5 players have already scored for the Citadel in this game. 4 players have already scored for Furman, and we're only 6 minutes in.
Both teams shooting better than 40% from three-point range as well in the early going. Garrett Heen, fresh into the game, sends it out to the corner. Brown, strong defense against Gurley, who misses. Now Brown brings it up the floor for the Citadel.
Furman's had some good looks in the paint that they just haven't been able to get to go down. That was the 4th or 5th miss right at the rim for the Paladins.
Another skip pass from Moff all the way to AB, this time in the near side corner. Inside to Brady Spence, and that's good.
He talked about he had been the starter at center for a majority of the year, but didn't necessarily play a ton of minutes. But he comes in relatively cold off the bench and a nice little jump hook going middle. Any offense you can get back to the basket-wise for the Bulldogs is going to be a plus.
Now Spence contesting the shot, and a soft touch from Heen gives Furman the lead once again.
Heen, a true freshman from Charlotte, making an early impact for the Paladins.
Gurley shut down by Brown. Now this shot is blocked by Spence. Heen collects it, scores, and a foul.
Well, an impressive entrance to this game by the true freshman Heen. He was in high school and not much of a prospect, a little bit undersized. He was able to transfer schools, repeated the 11th grade, his junior year of high school, as a result of when he transferred, put on 30 pounds and became a Division I prospect, and you see the contributions he's making for a really good mid-major in Furman.
And it's even more notable to be making that kind of an impact with all of the upperclassmen that are on this roster, able to step right in and join the fray. Comes up short, trying to complete the three-point play. Brown, another rebound for the Bulldogs. Now the Citadel down by 4. Fletcher Abey thought that pass was perhaps kicked. No whistle. Play continues with the Paladins into the front court. Handling it right now is Joe Anderson, guarded closely by Brent Davis. Bothwell slices on a backdoor cut, and the assist from Slauson puts the Paladins on top by 6.
Furman's starting to get rolling a little bit offensively. Fletcher Abey got caught a little bit too tight to Bothwell on the perimeter. Back cut got him a wide open layup. And Duggar Bauckham talked to us yesterday via Zoom about sort of the Princeton principles that have a tendency to arise with this Furman offense, and you saw it there with the back cut. Again, just a simple dribble at the defender by Slauson. Abey took a peek at the ball, and all of a sudden the man he was guarding was past him wide open with a lane to the basket.
9-2 run for the Paladins. Moff off the back iron. Brown and Spence both went up trying to tip it in, couldn't do it, and a turnover the other direction. That ball sails out of play and brings up, so not surprised to see them at the top. They, as you alluded to earlier, Jason, have had some tough tests in non-conference play, and they've looked really good. Right now they're the number 4 team among mid-majors according to College Insider, and they're also number 50 in the net rankings, which ranks everybody across all of Division I, the NCAA evaluation tool, which is so crucial to some of the Selection Sunday decisions. Right now they're a top 50 team in the entire country based on their schedule and the way they've performed against it.
Yeah, absolutely. They've tested themselves. I think head coach Bob Ritchie knew what he had in terms of a veteran team that should be very good. So this was the year, even though scheduling was kind of thrown for a loop by COVID situation, to test your team. And games at Alabama and Winthrop are going to help your net, especially early in the year when not everybody's been able to play their full slate of games. You mentioned their net ranking being right around 50th in the country. And the teams they're ahead of include North Carolina, Michigan State, and Duke, and also the team that is right at the top of those mid-major rankings in Winthrop, who beat Furman, but Furman's still a couple of slots ahead of them in the net.
In that game, one of those other tough tests against Alabama, we just saw what Alabama's capable of last night. Big victory against Kentucky by 20 points. They only lost by 3 in that game. 83-80 was the final score against Alabama. So even some of their losses have been close and against top competition. Right now they're up by 6 as neither team has scored since the break. Brady Spence shaking his head right now as he takes a look to the bench as well. Take another look at that last sequence.
And Spence was in good guarding position. If he put his hand straight up or walled up with his chest and his arm straight to the ceiling, I think he was going to force a tough shot at the very least from Slauson. But you saw him sort of extend that arm at a 45-degree angle over the face of Slauson. And so when there was contact, it was easy for the official to call that a foul. And now a couple quick fouls on the Citadel, and they have 4.5.
Brent Davis with the foul prior to that. As you mentioned, 4 fouls on the Citadel, 5 fouls on Furman at this point. Only player with multiple fouls is Mounce, one of the starters for the Paladins. That's why he is sitting and watching right now.
So you've had him out of the game for a few minutes here with those early fouls. Slauson picked up a foul early, so if you could go inside and maybe pick up a foul using Hayden Brown, who Slauson is guarding right now, and get him 2 fouls, all of a sudden the front court starts to thin out a little bit for the Paladins.
Brown launches a 3, hit the backboard first. Furman trying to extend its lead. 8-0 run for Furman, and this is an offensive foul.
And there's Hayden Brown again. He just seems to find contact
And whether he has the ball or he's on defense, he takes hard contact. And that foul was on Slauson. As I mentioned, now he has 2, and so does Mounce. And when you're up 8, it's probably a little bit easier to sit those guys for a while. But if a game gets closer, it starts going the other way. You have to wonder, do I put a guy back in with 2 fouls and risk it?
One of those coaching decisions you have to make. Spence elevating, knocked to the floor. He'll shoot 2. Now the fouls are indeed piling up against Furman, as that's team foul number 7, so the Citadel will be in the bonus. We're not even midway through the first half.
The pick and roll run exceptionally well that time, and the defender, Johnny Lawrence, a redshirt freshman who just came into the game a moment ago, was a little bit late. He hedged, but didn't quite get back to his man Spence rolling to the basket. And Spence had a chance to finish at the rim, but got fouled and couldn't quite get it over the rim.
Heen coming over, trying to help out, committing the foul. That's his first. So right now, Mounce and Slauson, 2 starters for Furman, have 2 fouls apiece. Those are the only players with multiple fouls. Spence at the line, trims it to 6.
Well, if you were to tell Duggar Bauckham and the Citadel coaching staff that just about 10 minutes into this game, you had held the big 3 of Bothwell, Gurley, and Mounce to a combined 7 points, you'd feel pretty good. But the other guys, Hunter, Slauson, have been there for Furman, and that's what makes them such a complete team.
Here's Gurley from 3, almost banked it in. Brown pulls it down in traffic, slings it out to Moff. Moff finds AB left corner. Offensive foul is called, so wave it off. AB a little disappointed, had a chance to cut it to 3. That would have been Fletcher's first 3-pointer of the game, but it's a no-go as the foul called beforehand.
That's been a call that has kind of been emphasized that they're trying to get out of the game over the last couple of years. When you're dribbling the basketball and you flip or hand off to your teammate and then sort of move into their defender to create a lane, and you could see Moff purposefully spun and tried to box out the defender and got hit with a foul.
Now Gurley goes up for the lob, slams it down. Backdoor on the baseline behind the defense. 8-point game. Brown trying to answer, and he does.
Now that's a big bucket for Hayden Brown. He had a chance with the AB3 to get within 3. Instead, there's a foul. They come down and get a dunk. So to get a bucket that quick at the rim, a big positive for the Bulldogs. Now you're looking for a couple stops.
Gurley again behind the defense, able to slip right behind Rice and lay it in.
Furman using their athleticism to get into the lane. And then Gurley, Mounce, Slauson have been sitting in the short corner down around the block and able to finish with the pocket pass.
Now Gurley trying to set up Heen. Knocked away. Clark comes up with the loose ball. Lob into Brown. Brown power dribble to the basket and a chance for 3.
When Hayden Brown gets that look in his eye and puts a shoulder into you, it's hard to stop him. You're either going to foul him or he's going to finish, or in this case, both. You're going to foul him and he's going to score with a chance at the 3-point play. Just a 2-hand power dribble and up in between a couple of defenders. And my thing is, if you're going to reach in and foul somebody who's wide open, go into the basket, you can't do it with a little slap on the wrist. You've got to go in there and make sure they don't finish inside as well.
Brown back to the line. He's the team leader with 8 points so far. Does complete the 3-point play, so a mini run here put together by the Bulldogs. Trims it to 5. There you see his numbers last time out against Chattanooga. That recognized by the SoCon for Player of the Week honors. Another double-double for Brown. 37 points, 13 rebounds. It was a heck of a game. And Furman right now finding its way to the rim. You mentioned they had some close-range shots earlier in the game, Jason, that weren't quite falling, but those are starting to fall right now. Alex Hunter with the most recent 2, and another offensive foul on Tyler Moff, trying to create a screen, but it's whistled against him.
And it was literally the same thing he did last time. This time he didn't spin and box out the defender after the handoff. This time he just kind of kept moving, and the defender was aware of that, stepped right into his path, and went down. Now, maybe a little bit of an acting job at the end of that contact, but Moff already picked up a foul for doing that once. So you really have to be careful the next time and come to a jump stop after the handoff.
As you mentioned, point of emphasis a couple of years ago, they've really tried to clean up the contact there on those dribble handoffs and really put it on the officials to determine who initiated that, offense or defense. Last two whistles have gone against the offense and Tyler Moff. Brown misses a three. Now Mounce back into the game with his two fouls. Draws a foul. That will be team foul number 7 on the Citadel. So both teams are in. These two teams certainly familiar with each other. 214th meeting all time. So this is not the first go-around, Jason.
No, this is actually the opponent most common for the Citadel in their basketball history. So these are two teams familiar with one another, not located too far from one another. So an easy trip going back a long time.
You saw Furman has won 4 in a row. They've won 8 of the last 9 in this series. And right now on top by 9 after the free throws from Clay Mounce. Quick answer by Stephen Clark.
You see a bucket in the paint by Clark and the Citadel. And coming into this, I thought points in the paint probably going to favor Furman. And you sort of expected that. And so far they have an 18-8 lead in the paint. But you thought the way for the Citadel to counter that was by making three-point shots. They've been out-hit from behind the arc 4-2 by Furman. And again, the Citadel leading the country, coming in over 14 makes from 3 on the year. Just 2 so far.
And the top three-point shooting team in terms of percentage as well in the entire nation, but shooting below 25% right now. Clay Mounce with a 3 the last trip down the floor, and now a turnover leads to a run out by Alex Hunter for a transition 2, and just like that, the Paladins have their largest lead of the afternoon.
The Citadel started out flowing pretty well offensively. At the first media timeout, the under 16, the Citadel had 13 points already, just 11 points since then.
Clark looking for Brown, but a lot of Furman defenders in the area. Clean steal for Joe Anderson. Another transition opportunity for the Paladins. Brown, a strong defensive rebound, brings it up the floor himself. Now crosses over, finds Clark trailing for a 3. That doesn't go, and so the shooting percentage continues to trickle down for the Bulldogs.
He didn't really look confident with that shot. He saw another attempt at a backdoor cut. Brent Davis, one of the better defenders for the Bulldogs as a true freshman out of Miramar, Florida, did a good job breaking that up. But Clark was the one guy on the floor in the starting lineup. I mentioned there's typically 4 knockdown shooters on the floor, but Clark sort of hesitated even though he was wide open, and you don't see many shots go in after sort of a pause or a hitch in the delivery.
He can certainly hit from that range, but he's only attempted 2 all season coming into the game. Made 1 of his 2 3-point attempts prior to this one. 3-pointer on the way, and good for Joe Anderson.
Now this Furman team is a problem, and they're going to be a problem for just about everybody in the Southern Conference. And Duggar Baucom, just effusive praise for Furman in this program. Just talking about them being the class of the conference in a whole nother level right now. And you're seeing that play out so far in the first half.
Fitzgibbons missed a layup on one end, and it leads to another quick opportunity for Furman. This time the 3-ball rattles out. Fitzgibbons running point right now for the Bulldogs, trying to stem the tide. It's a 12-2 run for Furman. Davis off the mark. Heen a defensive rebound. Hunter slings it ahead. Now Hunter with it again. Thought about it. Takes it short. Strong offensive rebound for the Paladins. Allows for a reset. Heen continuing to contribute in a big way as the freshman this afternoon. Brown pulls in the miss by Anderson.
Well, the Citadel, just the way they play basketball, no deficit feels that insurmountable, because if they get hot and knock down a 3-point shot, which they do with regularity on 3 or 4 possessions, you've got a 1-possession basketball game. But if you keep missing and you can't get hot, that's where this lead and the margin continues to increase, and it can look ugly at times. But, a 15-point game for the Citadel is 5 possessions if things go the way that Coach Duggar Baucom wants. So just got to hang around here in the final 4.5 minutes of the first half. Keep it around 10 to 12. And if you can cut it a little further, you'll feel really good going into the break.
That last pass kicked, so shot clock goes back to 20. Bulldogs with it on the baseline.
They've done a really nice job against Hayden Brown, aside from the first few minutes of the game.
Brown asking for the shot to count. Kinney tried to draw a charge, but he was in the restricted area. And they do count the basket, so a chance for a three-point play. Hey, ask and you shall receive type situation.
Yeah, Slauson got a little bit off balance and lost track of where Hayden Brown was, which isn't a good idea when you're playing the Citadel. You got to find 33. And it took a while for them to count that basket. I think the call right away was his heel was on the arc under the basket, which made that a block. And then it took a while for the official who called it to realize that Hayden Brown actually finished the shot as well. Big three-point play.
Certainly is. Cuts it to a 12-point game, and for Hayden Brown, puts him into double digits. He's on pace for yet another double-double. Once again, 12 points, 6 rebounds here in the first half. He takes a seat for a moment. Gurley for 3. Rebound for AB. Bulldogs a chance to cut it to 10, maybe even single digits. Fitzgibbons draws a foul on Anderson, and that will send Fitzgibbons to the line. Rudy Fitzgibbons, sophomore on this team, only 5 for 6 at the charity stripe.
Yeah, Rudy Fitzgibbons in there because Tyler Moff picked up those 2 offensive fouls. Haven't seen a lot out of the backup point guards, Fitzgibbons or Jerry Higgins lately. It's been Moff for as many minutes as possible in these games, but a really smart idea by Duggar Baucom to get Hayden Brown out of the game, get him about 30 seconds of a break before the media timeout, and he'll probably be back on the court once we get under 4 minutes.
Fitzgibbons converts both foul shots. 5-0 run for the Bulldogs during the last couple trips down the floor.
7 for 8 from the stripe for the Bulldogs. That's a good way to stay attached.
Clark tried to block the shot from behind, but he's called for the foul on Gurley's attempt. And here is that list like this. It doesn't matter how many games you've played necessarily or who you've played. It matters that you've won every time on the floor, and it's always good to see your name associated with Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, and others.
Yeah, and I think this year more than any other year, with everything that all of those teams have probably had to go through in terms of games being postponed, rule changes, changes to traveling, the practice schedule, how you interact with one another, how the bench is set up. The fact that you've gone out, and like you said, no matter who you've played, where you've played them, what time, how many days a week you played, if you've won every game, that's something to hang your hat on.
The Citadel chipping away at what was once a 15-point deficit. Rudy Fitzgibbons cuts it to single digits. It's an 8-0 run for the Bulldogs.
You could see Rudy Fitzgibbons after he knocked down a couple of free throws right before the break. He stepped into that one confidently. He hasn't been a guy that the Citadel has relied on to score a lot. I mentioned he hasn't been playing a ton, but really stepped in with confidence and knocked that one down.
Only had 5 three-pointers all season prior to that hit. Clay Mounce, athletic finish along the baseline, breaks the drought for Furman. The Paladins had not scored in 3 minutes. Bulldogs scored 8 in a row during that time.
And now Furman going to his zone. Try and trap the Citadel, catch him off balance, and we'll see if Duggar Baucom's squad can react quickly enough here. Deep in the shot clock for the first time today.
Only 5 to shoot. Pass deflected. Davis gets it off in time, banks it in.
That's a big-time shot by Brent Davis. The Citadel was thrown off a little bit by the switch to the trapping zone. A good move by Bob Ritchie, but sometimes you just get frustrated. You play great defense for 29 seconds and somebody banks in a shot like that. You'll take it if you're the Citadel.
Mounce, another tough finish. Clay Mounce sat for a while with 2 early fouls, but making his presence felt now that he's back on the floor.
Absolutely, just a do-everything guy, very similar to Hayden Brown. He can beat you from outside. He can beat you going to the basket.
He's now the leading scorer in the game with 12. Speaking of 12, here's Davis, that time intentionally going glass. He had more luck unintentionally going glass. On the other end, no glass needed. That's an easy flush for no teammates. Furman pushes it back to double digits. Just about 2 minutes to go in this opening frame. The Citadel, one of 8 undefeated teams in the country. Furman, undefeated in conference play. There's only 3 undefeated SoCon teams, even though it's early in conference play, and one of them is going to fall today. And now an offensive foul away from the basketball. Looked like it was on Hayden Brown trying to post up, and that is the call. So Brown trying to post up, called for an offensive foul, and the Paladins get it back.
Well, the deficit got to 10. They brought Hayden Brown back in the game right away. And I'm not so sure. I thought there could have been a foul on Hayden Brown with that initial shove with the elbow, but the second time it looked like the defender sort of kicked his leg in an effort to get that foul called, but either way it worked.
That's Brown's second, so Bulldogs will be careful with him as he goes back to the bench. One of the games earlier this year against Longwood, Hayden Brown fouled out for the final 5 minutes. The Citadel did end up with the victory, but a little more difficult without one of their star players on the floor. So Brown with 2 fouls sitting at the moment. Fletcher AB off the back iron. Rebound for Slauson. This has been a game of many runs back and forth. 8-0 run here, 5-0 run. They've traded those type of bursts between the two teams. Right now it's Furman countering again, and a chance at the line to add to it. Strong drive by Slauson. He'll shoot 2.
Again, the Furman attack has been predicated on getting inside, and they've dominated in the paint. 26-12, they lead the Citadel scoring inside. They've made one more three-point shot, 5 compared to the Bulldogs' 4. So they've taken that aspect away from the Citadel. They've been getting to the line. They've been aggressive, drawing fouls. They've just played a good basketball game. They are coming in the top field goal percentage team in the SoCon and one of the best field goal percentage teams in the country, almost 51%. And the Citadel's held them to 47% today. But they have just been continuously attacking the basket, getting second chance points, and dominating inside. That's the reason for the double-digit lead.
Slauson heads to the bench after his free throw make on the second of his 2 tries. A lot of players with 2 fouls apiece, everybody trying to avoid that critical 3rd foul in the first half. Slauson is one of those players, so he's watching at the moment as well. Caden Rice with the ball. Final minute until intermission. Caden Rice hits a triple. That's his first of the game, and it is very rare to see that come in the 20th minute of play.
Furman's done a great job on Caden Rice. He's made at least 3 3-point shots in every game this year, and that was his first. Only 3 shots attempted today for Caden Rice.
Clark saved it. It looked as though he was out of bounds after the block, but no whistle. Play continues. Caden Rice in transition. Back-to-back threes for Caden Rice, and a quick timeout by Furman.
Oh, he might have to see if... And now it's a 5-point game again. Caden Rice can get hot in a hurry, and you don't even have to give him a wide-open shot. If he sees one ball go through the net, you can count on the next 2 or 3 going down as well.
Furman uses it or lose it timeout to draw up a play with the shot clock off, and they find Clay Mounce very quickly, and a foul is called. So the clock is stopped at 10.9. Mounce up to this point with 12 in just 10 minutes. Again, he had those 2 early fouls, sat for a while, but since he has been back on the floor, he has become the leading scorer for both teams, and he's at the line for the second time today.
You and I were talking before the game about different shot clock situations, end of half situations. I think we've seen 4 and eventually we'll get 5 possessions since the clock went under 30 seconds remaining in the first half. Most teams content to just dribble it out, get the final shot. These teams going up and down.
Both teams averaging more than 85 points per game on the season. You can see why. Rice from deep tried to make it 3 in a row. Instead, that ball hits the baseline with 2.4 on the clock. So add another possession in the final 30 seconds to the tally, Jason. Furman will have a chance for the last shot of the half.
I can't remember the last time I've seen that. You might be lucky to see a game go 2 possessions in the final 30 seconds. But this has been, we're going to run our offense. This is what we do. If we get a look that we like, we're going to take it.
Slauson will throw it in, 2.4 on the clock. Time for a couple dribbles if you need it. Instead,
well, this is going to give you a good look.
Yes, nice catch by Stephen Clark, and a heck of a baseball arm there as well as he launches it right back in the direction it came from.
Well, that's literally the worst possible outcome for Furman, aside from throwing the ball to the Citadel right under the basket, because nobody touched it. No time came off the clock. The Citadel will inbound on the baseline.
Fletcher Abey will set up perhaps the last shot of the half. We got to stop using that phrase. Spence misses, and indeed.
Most of that half, and then had to hit 2 late threes, is a little bit out of the norm for the Citadel. We'll see if they can get him going early.
This is the only game in action right now. As you can see, a couple of postponements already. We just talked about that during the halftime coverage, the number of postponements around the conference. A couple of games are set to tip off at 7 o'clock. This game originally set for 7 o'clock, but moved up to 3 o'clock. Clark misses on the first attempt of the second half. You saw a few cadets in attendance, but it is extremely limited attendance right now, Jason, and limited access to campus in general here at the Citadel. So that's the reason, if you've tuned into games earlier in the year for the Bulldogs, you've seen crowds in the few hundreds because they did have 30% capacity allowed. Clark finishes on the reverse. That has changed, though. The next few home games will not have fans from the general public in attendance due to these extra restrictions, really trying to keep all the players, participants, coaches as safe as possible as COVID cases rise in the region and the country.
Well, the number one goal of doing all this is to eventually play your conference tournament and determine a conference champion, but then get to the NCAA tournament and crown a champion. And so whatever you have to do to make that the most possible and the most safe for everybody involved, you've got to do. So if you have to go without fans at all for 3 games, I think every team is happy to do that.
These games moving around so frequently with game times and game dates anyway, it's tough to really have advanced ticket sales anyway. And like you said, safety, the most important thing is getting through the season, getting to that conference tournament, which as of right now is still in its original format. This is Bothwell, limited in the first half, misses from close range, but a second effort gives him his second basket of the day.
And that's been a theme all day. Furman has missed a number of shots right there at the rim again to start the second half, which was a problem at the beginning of the contest, but Bothwell very stubborn on the glass and eventually gets it to fall.
Moff finding Clark along the baseline, cut off. Desperation pass, intercepted by Hunter, and another transition alley-oop. This time Mounce goes up, catches, and completes.
Well, Duggar Bauckham was talking about the play of the point guard, Alex Hunter, for Furman, and just how good he's been protecting the basketball. And in 11 games coming in, just 15 turnovers for Hunter, and today 2 assists, no turnovers once again.
Furman running here, another quick basket for the Paladins, and Bothwell starting to lead the charge. That quiet first half, quiet no more here in the second half. Fletcher Abey short, rebound for Slauson.
And Abey can't get one to go here. 2 misses from outside the arc in the second half. He's been quiet today.
Gurley catch and shoot from the corner. No. Moff with the rebound. No number for the Bulldogs. Moff hesitates, tries to create an advantage. He does, finds Rice, the open man. Swish for Caden Rice.
Well, the problem for Furman was everybody was stuck ball watching Tyler Moff in the paint. And you got to think about what's the lesser of 2 evils. If Moff gets by his primary defender and gets 2 points, or leaving one of the best 3-point shooters in Citadel history wide open for 3, I think the lesser of 2 evils is to just give up the 2-point basket, which is contrary to your normal belief. But with a guy like Caden Rice and the way this Citadel offense is predicated, you just can't collapse and leave shooters like Abey and Rice wide open. That's how they beat you.
On the other end, Gurley can't make an over-the-shoulder catch. It's turnover number 6 for Furman. 10 turnovers by the Bulldogs so far. The Citadel has trimmed it to 8. At one point it was a 15-point margin. That was at the 4:39 mark of the first half. It was 39-24 at that stage. Clark On a drive, finds Rice in the corner, and that one is good. Caden Rice with 4 3-pointers after not having any in the first 19 minutes.
It happened again. Alex Hunter, the primary defender on Caden Rice, watched Clark drive baseline. Clark really wasn't a threat. He was stuck under the basket and about to go out of bounds. If he stayed plastered to Caden Rice, I'm not sure there was anywhere for the Citadel to go.
Gurley crosses over on Clark and finishes.
Now, he hasn't shot the ball particularly well, but that's where you've got to go right now if you're Furman. 5 of 15 from the floor, but he is a big physical advantage inside.
Clark and Spence both on the floor at the moment. Spence sets a ball screen for Fitzgibbons, steps back for a 3, and that one's good.
You had a couple of mismatches. You had the big switching out on Fitzgibbons, and that left the point guard trying to guard Brady Spence. And instead of throwing it in the post, the Citadel says, we'll shoot over the big guy. And Fitzgibbons in early in the second half, having a big game.
5 3-pointers on the year. He has 2 in this game. Nice finish by Gurley, spinning to that right hand.
And now I think you're seeing the way that these two teams would like to play starting to come to fruition. It necessarily wasn't there in the first half. Gurley dominating inside for Furman. You could see him going right at Brady Spence one-on-one, and the Citadel doing it from outside the arc.
Fitzgibbons saying he was hit on the arm on that attempt. The shot ends up short, and Furman again running the floor. We have seen this from the Paladins throughout the afternoon. Heen, the freshman, with a rim run for a slam.
He's been really impressive, and when they've had to go without Mounce or Gurley, Heen has been more than able to fill the shoes.
Davis fouled on a layup, and it brings us to a timeout on the floor. Once again, a couple of minutes between whistles. Take a look at the leading scores at this point. Caden Rice really heating up. Again, did not make his first 3-pointer of the game until the final minute of the first half. Now he has 4 on the day. No surprise to see Mounce among the leading scores, 16 pacing Furman, which has 3 different players in double digits. Davis at the line, makes the first, misses the second, so it's a 7-point game, 14 and a half to go. Davis with a steal, had to save it along the sideline. Shot clock moves back up to 30 here for Furman. So the Paladins will have a chance to reset and be patient. Great effort from Davis, almost completed the turnover.
A little bit of a mismatch in the post now. Davis trying to guard Heen, but they couldn't get it into him, and the Citadel gets a stop.
Kinney missing a 3-pointer. Long rebound goes out of play.
Well, as up and down and as many shots have been taken in this game, 52 shots attempted by Furman and 39 for the Citadel. Both teams right now at 46.2% from the field. So that is evened out, and Furman one of the best in terms of field goal percentage, over 50% on the year coming in.
AB driving baseline. Moff back in the game. He has the ball now. Sets up Spence on the baseline. Trapped behind the basket. Kenny with a steal. And a layup for Mounce. A slow developing 2-on-1, but the Paladins do cash in.
Well, all turnovers aren't the same, and the meaning behind that is that one was thrown by Spence out towards the top of the key, and now he turns it over again with a travel. But those 2 turnovers are different. The first one was a live ball turnover and led to a 2-on-1 break and an immediate 2 points. That one's a dead ball turnover, so Furman not able to score immediately. But when you're trying to chip into a lead and beat one of the conference favorites, those are the kind of mistakes, the live ball turnover at least, that you really can't be happy with if you're Duggar Bauckham. Now 12 turnovers for the Citadel.
And 14 points off of turnovers for Furman. Mounce for 3, splashes it through.
Just so good, and such a veteran team. They know that Clay Mounce has it going right now, and they're finding him open for shots that he's knocking him down every time, whether it's in the paint or outside the arc.
10 3-pointers for Furman as a unit, 9 for the Citadel. Brown fouled on his way to the basket. And now a little bit of shoving afterward. Derek Webster just checked into the game. Great direction here for Furman.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And it looks like they gave a foul to Joe Anderson. That just popped up. Now, I'm not sure if that was the foul on the floor or after the play, but Anderson has 4, and he was the guy who had the ball knocked away from him by Brown. And after that, I'm not sure if they got Derek Webster. He has a foul now.
Hayden Brown has 3 fouls. So they have Hayden Brown with a foul added to his tally with 3 fouls. Joe Anderson for a moment, and bear with us, we have to go off the live stats. Again, we're not in the arena. Normally we would have an official come over and explain everything and be able to clean this up. But right now on the live stats, they gave Joe Anderson 2 fouls. They gave him his 3rd foul and his 4th foul out of that sequence. And if that holds up, he has 4 fouls in the game right now. And now we have a stoppage here as this game has lost.
And you've been around this conference for a while now that they're good. They're there at the top. They've won 20 games or more in 4 straight seasons, but they haven't made the big dance since all the way back in 1980, and I'm guessing that's goal number 1 for the Paladins this year.
Great point. Mounce with a 3. It rattles out. Brown with the rebound. So to clean up everything from a moment ago, Hayden Brown does have 3 fouls now. Caden Rice with a 3-pointer that's missed. Tip in from Webster doesn't go. The dead ball foul on Heen now. So he has 3 fouls, and they did remove one of those 2 fouls from Anderson. So Anderson now with 3 fouls. This is an offensive foul. That's a big take from Hayden Brown. That could have been his 4th foul right there, but he draws a charge. You mentioned he's fearless and not afraid to mix it up earlier, and this is a great example of that. With 3 fouls already, he still stands in and takes the charge.
And honestly, I thought maybe he moved at the last second there, that he had an established position, but the game was kind of hanging in the balance there for a moment. That was going to be foul number 4 on Brown or foul number 3 on Mounce. And the Citadel fortunate that their best player is still on 3 fouls, and one of the best players, the leading scorer so far for Furman, now has 3. But Brown just plays in a way that when he's out there with 3 fouls with this amount of time left in the game, you kind of hold your breath. He's at risk for offensive fouls sometimes with the way he puts his head down and gets to the basket and likes to mix it up inside defensively.
Moff sneaks past on the baseline to the other side of the rim and lays it in.
And that may have been the result, because that was really slow developing of what I talked about at the beginning of the half, where you can't help on a drive off of Caden Rice, or you're going to give a great 3-point shooter too much room. And that time nobody helped, and Moff in slow motion got a wide open layup.
Kenny bounces it to Gurley. Gurley facing up against Brown. Brown with those 3 fouls. Good defense. Gurley's fall away doesn't go. Brown with the rebound. He's 1 away from a double-double once again. 14 points, 9 boards for him. Now he leads the offense, finding Rice for a 3. That's off the mark. Webster, though, offensive rebound and a stick back.
You can't ask for anything more from Derek Webster. You don't expect him to score a ton of points. What you want is him to hustle. And he was boxed out, but did not give up. Knocked the ball loose and got himself a layup out of all that.
It's back to a 6-point game. Furman has not scored in 2 minutes. That changes immediately. Noah Gurley with 14 on the afternoon.
That feels like maybe the worst matchup for Hayden Brown with 3 fouls is to get stuck on the block trying to stop Noah Gurley.
Tough pass from Brown, looking for Rice cutting baseline. Now Furman able to turn that into 2 quick points. You talked about the live ball turnovers a moment ago. Kinney with the bucket for Furman. And once again, the Paladins, those live ball turnovers, waste no time in transition.
The Citadel is the one thought of the team trying to get up and down. Furman scoring a ton of points as well. But when you give them the ball with numbers, they know how to cash in. And there's another turnover, this time of the dead ball variety. But the Citadel's gone like you would expect. I mean, Furman is absolutely dominated in the paint, outscoring the Citadel 44-18. The Citadel, to keep this one close and possibly pull off the upset, is going to have to get hot from 3. They're 9 of 25 from downtown, 36%. You're going to have to see some of those shots start going in, because Furman continues to pound it inside like you just saw.
Gurley really causes mismatches throughout the league, and 16 points right now for him after that last basket. AB looking for Brown, a steal for Alex Hunter. Furman on the move again. Hunter trying to set up Gurley. That's a rare turnover by Hunter, and it leads to Fletcher Abbey. Transition layup missed. It was blocked off the backboard. Caden Rice, a chance to follow, could not do it. Two great opportunities for the Bulldogs on a rare giveaway by Hunter, but instead no points on the board.
That was almost a big swing for the Citadel. They had turned it over and were looking at a 14-point deficit right in the face. And then it looked like they were going to cut it to 10, but the athleticism of Slauson, the local kid from Somerville, just outside of Charleston, able to catch up, block it off the backboard. But then you had another chance, and Caden Rice just couldn't quite get it to roll home.
Now Mounce with the ball and a travel.
You talk about second chance points, and when you look at the numbers, Furman has taken 14 more shots than the Citadel. The Citadel has turned it over 6 more times, 16-10. The turnovers there, but offensive rebounds, 9 for Furman, just 3 for the Citadel, and one of those came just a moment ago, and it looked like you were going to get second chance points, but Rice just couldn't finish. You got to take advantage of those limited opportunities.
Now Gurley forcing a turnover. And a 3-ball for Furman in transition. It is up to a 15-point game, matching the largest lead of the day for the Paladin. Tyler Moff bringing the ball up the floor for the Bulldogs as play resumes. We hit the 9-minute mark in regulation. Furman has pushed the lead to 15. Clark inside off the right side of the iron. Gurley with the rebound, his 4th of the day. Bothwell with it, working against Abbey. No whistle, and 2 points for Bothwell.
I thought that was a really good no call by the baseline official. It looked like Abbey was maybe trying to convince him that there was a charge to be called there, but I thought he started falling down before the contact.
Brown lays it in.
Well, earlier in the game when the Citadel fell behind by 15, they responded and right away got back within 5. And we'll see if they have one more run in them down the stretch.
Furman sizing up the defense right now, finding the open man is Hunter. 3 balls short. Rebound for Clark. Moff on a drive all the way to the rim. That ball hit the glass first, so that's automatic goaltending.
Good take by Tyler Moff.
And 3-point shooting percentage. Right now, though, below their average, they've made 9. Nothing to scoff at, but not 14.5.
Yeah, there's a good chance they're going to end up pretty close to that number over the final 8 minutes. Certainly if they want to get back in this game and make it interesting down the stretch. Another nice steal and save by Clark. Chance to get a little bit closer here.
Moff lays it in, and a chance for 3 the traditional way.
Man, Stephen Clark just finds a way to impact the game. It doesn't matter if he's scoring or not. 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals today. And he hasn't really been that much of a factor that you felt the need to talk about a ton. But when you need to play, he's just very athletic and rangy, almost like a free safety. Just kind of grabbing the ball and able to whip it back in bounds. He had a similar play in the first half. And you blink it, it's back to 10.
Now the Citadel applying some defense in the backcourt. Furman gets it across to Mounce in the corner. Bothwell. And now back out to Mounce for a 3.
That's the one guy you just can't lose track of outside. Mounce now with 24. He's 4 of 5 from downtown. It just seems like this Furman team, with how experienced they are, they have the answer to every question you throw at them. Every bit of adversity they might face throughout a game, they know what to do.
And another steal, this time Bothwell creates his own fast break on the takeaway. And that's the 11th steal for the Furman defense. They had 14 steals against Mercer. 11 steals, now a block and a defensive rebound for Gurley, leading to another chance for the Paladins. Hunter drives, dishes. Slauson able to leave it for Bothwell. Now Furman resets. Still 15 to shoot. Plenty of time. Slauson backing in and called for an offensive foul against Stephen Clark.
Slauson got off to a really good start. He's been a little bit more quiet in the second half, but I mentioned when he's come to Charleston, he's had some big games, nearly a triple-double, just one assist short in the game against the College of Charleston back in December. Clearly not happy with that call. He thought that Stephen Clark might have sold the contact a little bit. Big possession here, it feels like. 15-point game, 6.5 to go. You need a bucket and a couple of stops.
Davis lays it in. He'll head to the line.
Now, Brent Davis does not look like a true freshman. He is well put together, and you saw it. You don't see a ton of true freshmen able to, in the first 10 games of their college career, able to take contact and still finish. And it's almost like the defender, who's much bigger, and Noah Gurley is more affected by that contact than Davis was. Now the part where he struggled a little bit this year, not finishing, but making the free throws, coming in under 50%.
7 for 16 on the year at the foul line.
I mean, Citadel's in a really good spot foul-wise. They're in the bonus, and they've only committed one foul themselves. They've done a good job, as many times as Furman has thrown the ball in the post since the break, of not committing fouls.
Gurley has the ball batted away. Davis comes up with it. Davis to the rim and goaltending. That cuts it to 10.
It's impressive. This team has some fight to them, and it's, they're not just going to roll over because you get up 15 on them. And you could see Brent Davis hunting that steal as soon as the screen came to get his man to the wing. He was tracking the ball and hoping it was thrown. And he's so strong going to the basket that he's able to just take contact and finish. Big play by Brent Davis. You just feel like this is a situation where Gurley or Mounce is going to try and make a play for Furman.
Hunter driving baseline. Shot clock down to 10. Contested shot. Rice comes up with it. The Citadel, after falling behind again by this time 17, a chance to make it a single-digit game, and Caden Rice does just that. Rice with 5 3-balls in the game.
You can just feel the frustration for Furman. They almost knocked the ball away from Rice. Brown picks it up, and they flip it to Rice. You kind of relax for a second, and he hits a shot from 3 feet behind the arc.
Brown, strong defensive rebound, and an 8-0 run already put together by the Citadel, looking to add to it. Fitzgibbons on his way to the basket. No, second chance, yes. It's a 5-point game.
What? Nobody would have believed you except for the guys that are wearing Bulldogs or the Citadel across their chest. But they have a chance now against one of the premier mid-majors in the country to shock some people.
Certainly do. Foul on the perimeter called on AB. That's not necessarily the worst thing. If this game remains close, the Citadel may want to be closer to the bonus.
Yeah, as long as those fouls aren't on Hayden Brown, fouls right now aren't going to be that bad of a thing for you.
It's an odd thing to say usually when you say a team may want to pick up a couple fouls, but again, you don't want to be caught in the last 2 minutes with only 2 fouls if you're behind. That's a chance there for Mounce, and Furman does answer. That stops the 10-0 run. That 10-0 run was over just a 2-minute, 10-second stretch, so it was a very quick outburst by the Citadel. And yet, Furman comes back immediately with 4 in a row. This time it's Gurley with the make.
Boy, they're just so tough. And Clay Mounce, you have a timeout, you're reeling a little bit. Your lead is cut down to 5. It was 17 not very long ago, and he catches with his head under the rim.
Catch and shoot for Fletcher Aby.
And that guy can do that. Fletcher Aby, only 2 points prior to that shot, 0 of 5 from downtown. But when you need him, he comes through. And this should be a really fun final 4 minutes.
It has been a fun initial 36 minutes, and now a 6-point game. Slauson with it.
And Mounce has Aby on him in the post, and they couldn't get it into him. We'll see if they look for that post again, but running out of time.
5 to shoot. Gurley back to the basket on a player control foul. He hooked Hayden Brown trying to make his move. And as we reach the final,
one of the very best fighters in the world. That looks good.
Bulldogs with the basketball, play resuming. Bounce pass from Fitzgibbons into Davis. And a foul is called here. Did not miss any of the action other than the seconds there leading up to that possession, but a chance now for the Citadel to chip away even further. Beautiful feed from Fitzgibbons.
Boy, I don't know that that was a foul, though, and you can see Slosson's reaction. I thought Davis lost the ball going up, and on replay, I don't think it changed my mind. There wasn't much contact there, and an opportunity for Davis at the line again as it rattles out. And now you're just trying to close within 5. But I was talking to you in the break. It just feels like any possession in which Clay Mounce doesn't end up shooting for Furman is a win for the Citadel. And I said, it feels like he hasn't missed, and there's a reason. He's 9 for 11 today.
Davis goes 1 for 2 at the line, cuts it to a 5-point game.
Slauson has 4 fouls now, by the way.
Mounce with it. Now Mounce, and that's going to be a block on Hayden Brown. That becomes his 4th.
That was tough. Brown tried to slide in there late, but Mounce coming free. And as I mentioned, when he has the ball, whether he's shooting outside the arc, driving, or working with his back to the basket, it feels like it's going in. And I think the Citadel really lucky that that shot didn't fall for Mounce either.
So a chance here for Mounce at the line. You mentioned Slauson just checking out with his 4 fouls. If people are tuning in wondering, is that any relation to Tom Slauson? Yes, that is. That's his son. Of course, in the Citadel Hall of Fame, inducted there in 2008 due to his great playing career for the Citadel. He was the 4th leading scorer in program history when his career concluded, had more than 1,400 points. So Slauson right now trying to help Furman defeat his dad's alma mater. Right now it's a 6-point game after the free throws. The Citadel trying to come from behind in a big way. Down by 15 in the first half, down by 17 with 8:38 to play. Now it's down to 6. Aby to Davis. Davis for 3, too strong. Loose ball batted up into the air. Paladins come away with it with less than 3 to go.
I think Furman, the game plan has been to go inside all day, and you have to now. This is a very small lineup for the Citadel. 6'5" Hayden Brown is essentially your 5-man. They don't have Spence or Clark on the floor, or even Webster. They have gone with the guys who've been successful today, Fitzgibbons as well as Brent Davis.
There's Mounce on the baseline. Tough finish for him. After a career-high 27 in his last game, he has surpassed that now with a career-high 29 and a turnover. Caden Rice lost the handle. Bothwell comes away with it. Bothwell all the way to the rim. Left-hand finish, and the Furman Paladins have pushed it back to a 10-point game approaching the 2-minute mark.
We talked about the foul situation. I think that was a spot where you had to take a foul. It was going to be a layup or your 4th team foul, and in that situation, just stopping the play and not allowing them to get a layup would have been wise.
Caden Rice, catch and shoot, and a quick timeout after the make. Rice doesn't matter. And 10 rebounds, another double-double for Brown. It has been a fun game so far. Furman holding on right now by 7, less than 2 minutes to go. And the Paladins, well, slowly bringing across the timeline here out of the timeout. Hunter running the offense. Gives it to Gurley, left side. Brown has to be careful with 4 fouls. Playing tough defense. Clark with the help blocks the shot. It stays with Furman. No reset of the shot clock. 10 on the timer here as Hunter leaves it for Bothwell. And now a foul. Davis, about 40 feet from the basket, commits the foul. And with 6 on the shot clock, it'll go back to 20 for Furman. And again, Furman not in the bonus yet.
That was a really veteran play by Clay Mounce. How many players who have been as hot as he is with 29 points on that rebound kick out could have shot a wide open 3, but he decides to run about 15 more seconds off the game clock.
Foul before the ball is thrown in. That one is on Davis, and that becomes his 3rd personal.
Well, the first foul by Davis you didn't like. It happened with just a few seconds on the shot clock, but that one as this winds down closer to 1 minute, you're going to need to commit some fouls to try and play the foul and chase game. So the second one not as big of a deal as the first one.
Hunter backs it out. Once again, 10 to shoot, 1:14 to play. Hunter working against Moff, finds an opening. Clark rejects it. Rice with the basketball. Into the front court, kills the dribble, finds Clark. Now Moff will direct traffic. Final minute of regulation. Furman by 7. Moff hands off to Rice. Rice, deep three. Gurley swats it away, and now Furman with the ball. And Moff will guard Hunter as he comes across the timeline. No foul given yet, and now the Bulldogs do have to commit a foul. 42 and a half seconds yet. Moff, his third personal, and just 6 team fouls on the Citadel. So one more needed for Furman to go to the line.
This is a shot that I think Caden Rice, and he may have been out of bounds on the sideline before that block shot, but against every other team the Citadel has played this year, he might get that shot off. But with the size, athleticism, and experience that Furman brings to the court, there really wasn't a chance there, and Gurley was able to get his fingertips on it.
This foul appeared to be away from the basketball on the inbound. We will double check who that is charged to. It is on Stephen Clark, so that was not Davis making the contact on the catch. The foul called on Clark off ball, and so that means Garrett Heen goes to the line instead. He's only 50% for the season coming into this one, and it is a 1-on-1 situation. Nobody on the line for the Paladins, so an easy rebound for Rice as Heen misses the front end. Bulldogs have to hurry here. Moff to Aby. Aby looking for a clean look at the rim. He finds it off front iron. Offensive rebound for Davis. Quick putback. Trickles out. Loose ball. Brown comes up with it. And a foul. Hayden Brown to shoot 2.
Well, you're going to get a trip to the line here. That took a lot of time to eventually get to the free throw line, but just a bullish effort underneath the basket by first Brent Davis and then Hayden Brown. I'm not sure there was much of a foul there either. I don't know what you're supposed to do if you're Heen, but Brown was kind of stuck underneath the backboard. And at least it didn't turn into a three-point play if you're Furman. That would be really hard to deal with at that point.
Brown makes the first. Yeah, sometimes you'll hear players ask, what am I supposed to do? And it's more of a rhetorical question because they really did commit either a foul in basketball or a penalty in football.
Sure.
But that one.
Yeah, I don't know what he was supposed to do.
That would be a fair question. What else was I supposed to do? Brown makes them both. 5-point game. Shot clock is off. Again, single bonus for Furman for a couple more fouls. So 1-1 coming up. The Bulldogs, you assume, will try to foul as quickly as possible here. Of course, you go for a steal or force a turnover if you can initially. Not able to do that. Slauson makes the catch near midcourt. Rice quickly applies the foul, and that's just the second on Rice. We keep mentioning individual fouls because that's the other aspect of the foul game toward the end. You do not want some of your best players fouling out. Right now, though, Hayden Brown with 4. He's the only Citadel player with 4, so everybody else has some fouls to apply as quickly as needed, and Slauson heads to the line. 72% foul shooter, 1-1, cashes in the first.
And the problem with being behind Furman in the latter part of this game, now that they got Heen out, who was in there for defensive purposes, is that Slauson is the worst free throw shooter on the floor, and he's at 72%. So tough to come back against these guys.
He hits them both. Bulldogs once again have to hurry, looking for a good look as soon as they can find it. Brown to Fletcher Aby. Aby waits for the defender to clear. Three-pointer too strong. Offensive rebound for Brown. Out to Fitzgibbons. He'll launch. Off back iron. Moff an offensive rebound. Knocked down. And that loose ball foul against Furman stops the clock at 7.3. That probably means Furman will be able to lock this one up. A valiant effort from the Citadel trying to claw its way back, but equally as impressive. You can see why this Furman team is going to win a lot of games in conference. They know how to close, and they are going to give not just the Southern Conference some trouble, but if they can keep their roster healthy and intact, they could maybe make some noise in March as well.
That next game for them on Saturday against ETSU is a big one. Those are the two teams that are going to remain undefeated after this game. And that'll be a big showdown. Somebody's going to have the upper hand early in the conference slate after Saturday.
Moff hits the last one. Moff applies a quick foul. And once again, that's only team foul number 9. So 1-1 here for Furman. The Bulldogs, and keep in mind, there's a lot of changes in there. If you're looking at that and saying, where did they come up with some of those games? Well, that's because there were some postponements, and otherwise, this is the schedule as it stands right now for the rest of January. A lot of games still to be played in January for the Bulldogs with some of those rescheduled contests.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the downsides of playing your normal conference schedule rather than what some of the conferences have done, playing just 2 games in one city, and that wraps up your season series. You got to make up some more games.
Moff all the way to the rim, lays it in. That will make it a 6-point difference for the final. Once again, great effort by the Bulldogs, but Furman shows why it is going